Hello summoners, welcome to the Ultimate Jungle tier list for the newest League of Legends patch. Whether you're an ambitious Iron player looking to climb or an Emerald player looking to finally reach the Diamond Dream, this list has you covered. The jungle role remains one of the most critical in determining the pace of the game, and with recent changes you need to stay ahead of the meta. Patch 15.6 has brought us buffs, nerfs, and a few surprises, so let's break down the champions that dominate the jungle and help you become a menace on the rift. Spoiler alert, you might see some old favorites back on top. Disclaimer, as always this tier list is for those who are below Diamond. This should be pretty accurate for people in Emerald as well, but above that we would have a very different tier list. If you are interested in that as well and would like to see a tier list for both low and high elo, leave it down in the comments. But without waiting any further, let's see the list. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. We have Amumu, Warwick, Nocturne and Diana in the S plus category. I will explain in depth why I think certain champs are lower or higher in my tier list. These four are amazing at teamfights, and in the lower ranks we have fights after fights after fights. No macro play, no farming, just fighting. For that these champions are amazing. They have a very simple kit to learn and that can make them boring, but I think for the fastest climb you have to play one of them. All four of these have a high impact in teamfights and they can excel in skirmishes. If you have had enough of your teammates losing skirmishes over and over again, these picks will help you save the day. I can only repeat what I say about them in pretty much every tier list. Diana with her bruiserish build can be ignored. Her damage, clear speed and scaling are some of the best. If you want to one-shot towers because your team is too bad to take the first tower at 20 minutes, this is the champ you need to learn. Despite building bruiser items, you would be surprised how strong she can be in the right hands, making her a game changer pick, especially in the lower ranks where Yasuo, Zed, Yone and other AD mates are often picked. Warwick might not scale as well as some other picks on this list, but his dwelling power is outstanding. He has several great build paths with the good old Hydra attack or the new Stridebreaker build. If you would like to see a VOD review with him or a build guide, leave it down in the comments. If the farming style is too boring for you and you want to fight, then he is your guy. On top of that, like I said, his scaling might not be the best, but that highly depends on the draft as well. You will dominate games even in the late game with the Stridebreaker Borg build paired with Spirit Visage. Nocturne is for you if you like farming style more but still want to have a champion who is strong in skirmishes and can decide the outcome of a team fight alone. After level 6 you are a constant threat to the enemy team. Fast clear speed, and he is one of the few champions who can match and even beat Warwick in a skirmish. So what are you waiting for? Solid build path, great impact potential, even though you might start struggling in the late game. But the best thing is, your ult cooldown starts to be fairly low in the mid game, so you don't even have to worry about the late game. Instead, you can decide the fights before larger objectives like Atakan and Verum Nashor, not even giving chance to the enemy team for a comeback. I can't leave out the sad mummy either, because that ult can save an inting team from losing. Despite not having as much carry potential as the other three, you might as well give this guy a chance and see how easy it is to impact the game and prevent your inting teammates from losing more. This champ allows you to make even a bad teammate look like someone who knows what they are actually doing. The S tier has Master Yi, Briar, Dr. Mundo, Sinzao, Nafiri, Volibear and Darius. Some of these champs shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Sinzao performs really well in the lower range, just like Jarvan, I think. Jarvan relies on his team more, that's why I put him in the A tier instead. Mundo remains a great alternative in case you don't want to play with Amumu. On top of that, he deals surprisingly high damage as well, especially for a tank. Volibear is simply a better top laner, I feel like, and we have Warwick, who does insanely well since his changes even too strong, especially on the top lane. So Wally just remains a weaker version, but still a solid pick compared to the Doggo. This patch we got another Master Yi buff. Riot is really trying to make Crit Master Yi work, but that build is simply not good. At least not as good as on-hit. This champ still remains in the S tier, I think, because the on-hit build is still great. But it's funny how he received several buffs to his crit ratio and it's still not enough. But let's talk about the other two picks which are new on the list. One is Darius, and I missed him on the last tier list, but this time he deserves his place. Don't get me wrong, he was broken last patch and he is still one of the strongest junglers in the game. But I didn't expect him to be that broken. This time he got a nerf to his passive damage against monsters, but guess what? That didn't matter that much. Sure, he is not as plus anymore, but he still has his spot secured for this patch in at least A tier. I know I placed him in S because I think he remains super good after the changes. He might drop a little bit further when we have more data after the nerf. But until then, he remains there with his broken build, which you can check out on my channel if you haven't already as a short. Next is Nafiri. Basically, what Riot did to her was change her pet's damage against monsters, so her numbers have been modified in order to make her a jungler. These changes make her a super good pick for jungle, and I can only recommend her, especially if you have played Nafiri mid before. The best thing about jungle is that now she can ignore all her bad matchups, and she had a lot of those in mid lane. Now she can farm up and destroy AD carries who don't respect her enough. Moving into the A tier first, I have Pantheon here, and he's a better Lee Sin. He pretty much does the same thing, but it's way easier to perform on him and take over games. I'm really not sure where I should place Lee Sin for the lower ranks, probably even C tier. The lower you go, the weaker he becomes. So if you want to play something similar to him, then you should pick Pantheon instead. The lower you go, the weaker he becomes. So if you want to play something similar to him, then you should pick Pantheon instead. The A tier champions are still solid picks in this patch, even though Alice dropped a little bit down, but that's mainly because of how hard she is. She is still S tier for the people who are in Diamond and even above, but for most players she remains in A tier for now. These picks have a lot more bad matchups and they can be counter-picked, or they require a little bit of a team setup as well. Because if you are the only front line as Viego, you won't have a lot of fun. If it's scaling comp, then you will have a hard time making an impact early on as Pantheon, when your whole team looks to scale instead of fighting early. But you still can pick these champs most of the time without any issues. Gwen is also an interesting pick this patch. She went through a lot of changes and I think she deserves a spot in the A tier for now. She still won't be as effective in the lower ranks as something like Diana, Mordekaiser or even Lilia, simply because of how hard it is to perform on this champ. Don't get me wrong, she is worth learning if you like her style and you don't mind if you need a few items to scale and really become a threat. Then we have the B tier. These champs require a lot of skill to actually perform well on them, so why would you pick any of them in the lower ranks really when you can do what Grace does and bully the enemy jungler and the enemy team with almost anyone from the above tiers. Some of them are becoming A or even S tier like Poppy if the enemy team has a lot of dashes and jumps. The same goes for Ramus against full AD teams or Morgana if they have a lot of CC. The only pick here who hasn't convinced me yet that he deserves A tier is Kha'Zix. He received a nice buff this patch and that will definitely help him in the higher ranks. But for most people for now I will keep him in the B tier. Finally C tier, and these are the champions you should avoid picking. It doesn't matter what elo you play, they are too bad to be picked right now. So this will be my patch breakdown for jungle in this patch and I hope you found it helpful. I still do free coaching for the new people on my Discord server and paid coaching as well. For more info, check the description and join the Discord. Every comment, like is appreciated and don't forget to subscribe. Until then, see you all in my next video.